Hey guys, so this is going to be a review of Friday the 13th. This is the 1981 with Kevin Bacon in it. So this is the first time watching this film. Now, when it comes to horrors, the reason why I've only just decided to watch it is because it's Friday the 13th. But usually I'm not a massive fan of slasher films. Um, I tend to just I prefer kind of more like paranormal psychological horrors opposed to just straight up slasher horrors. Saying that I do like the Nightmare on Elm Street, but anyway, because that's a little bit different. It kind of has kind of like a supernatural. Anyway, either way, so you've probably heard of the film, and a lot of you have probably seen it, but basically is about a camp that has kind of like a history of things going wrong or people dying. Like, for example, a boy called Jason drowned, which kind of twines into the film. I don't care if I spoil it. This is probably going to be a bit of a spoiler review, but you can't really review this without giving spoil. Well, you can, but anyway, a lot of you've probably seen this film anyway. I'm just probably the odd one out that hasn't. And then counsellors end up being killed, and then something wrong with the water. But anyway, basically, they decided to reopen it. So these counsellors like go over there to to get everything ready and everything like that. And again, the whole thing. Obviously, they all start to kind of die one by one. I say all. Again, a little bit of a spoiler, but again, you've probably seen it apart from one. So anyway, so first off, you can tell how kind of like horror movies are now. The most standout thing is this is a very long burning film. Um, I don't want to say like I don't mind like films that kind of I know a lot of people nowadays don't like films that kind of slow paced. Um, this one for me though is a little too slow paced. Like the first hour was fine, but then it just kind of stays the same sort of kind of pace, which is a little bit, whatever. I mean, it's okay, but that is one of the standards. It gets a little bit boring when you go past halfway through. Um, you can tell why it's kind of iconic. Like, I don't want to say that it's overhyped because I can understand why people like it. It was kind of one of those films where it was kind of those pedestals for like slashers and stuff like that. I don't know what films at the top of my head were horror films were before that. It is definitely like gory. Obviously, it's not as gory and with special effects as it is now, but it's it's still gory for what they had or what they could do when it comes to like effects and stuff and everything being obviously not digital. I don't think anything was digital in the 80s, but whatever. I don't know that much, but for what they had and what they had to work with, it's all right. Again, it's just like a basic kind of follows the same formula as a normal slasher, as I said. I mean, if you're a fan of slashers, you may enjoy it. Um, if you can, I mean, you can like obviously appreciate it, as I said, because it was kind of like one of those kind of those first kind of stepping stones into like horror, like characters like like Jason, and then obviously later on we had the Freddy Krueger, and then all these other like kind of like horror characters. Um, but yeah, so I don't want to say it's necessarily overhyped or anything like that because I can understand it. It's just is I can't see like for example young people necessarily enjoying it like being their like first kind of horror film or whatever. They probably won't necessarily enjoy it unless you're like a horror kind of fanatic who's like into kind of watching those like old horrors and stuff like that. You may appreciate it, but I don't think it's one of those things where young people necessarily would appreciate. But it's just one of those films. It's not like it's what is it? It's not like perfect as such. The acting's a little bit a little bit dodgy, a little bit dodgy, but it's not necessarily amazing either. It's just one of those films where it's one of those kind of iconic films that kind of built up this whole like slasher genre, if that makes any sense. But it's an interesting one, like it's an interesting one to kind of like rent if you wanna, or if you even see it cheap in a bargain bin to like pick up and like watch, and not necessarily saying that you would enjoy it or not, especially if you're quite young, but it still make it like an interesting watch, just so you can like as a kind of comparison thing as to like horrors now, how horror films were done now than what they're done now. That probably didn't even make any sense, but you get what I mean. It's not something I'd probably rewatch again unless it's on television. There's nothing out to watch, but it's not bad. It's just obviously for me not being a massive slasher fan either, it probably doesn't help. But as I said, I do still appreciate kind of like appreciate how it kind of it's an iconic film basically. I can appreciate because what they had then and stuff like that. But yeah, still give it like as I said, give it a watch because you may find it interesting or something like that. But yeah, it's not bad. It's just not necessarily something I'd enjoy or watch again or watch multiple times, just because of the main reason is it is a very slow burn. As I said, I don't mind slow burn films, but this is kind of very, very slow. Like even like past halfway through the film, it still follows that same pace. But yeah, that is it for this review. So bye guys.